worked with Peter for a while. I visited him last week. Seems to be coming along. I know he's in the rehab area. And, unfortunately, when your wife passes away and then he proceeds to have a stroke, I mean, it's a pretty tough combination for sure.
Yeah, Peter's definitely in our thoughts, and we'd ask our listeners always keep Peter in your thoughts, too, as we hope he gets back to full strength. Hopefully he can be doing some radio sooner or later.
Right. But with that said, okay, we'll bring in Damon Knight on the South Florida Tribune Hotline. And Damon, welcome back to the show, buddy.
How's it going, Scoop? Thank you for having me. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yep. Yeah. So, I just want to get right into it. Mike Moustakas just signed a big deal with the Cincinnati Reds for a four-year, $64 million deal. He was making $18.7 million in his 2 years with the Brewers. It's definitely a big upgrade. And this deal certainly matches his production. He was hitting last season .254 with 35 bombs and 87 RBIs. That's crazy for a power hitter. And so it'll help the Reds certainly with their lineup. They had the fourth fewest runs in 2019. So it's definitely a huge upgrade, and I'll be looking for the Reds to certainly compete in the NL Central.
Yeah, look, the Reds see an opening, Damon. The only thing that concerns me about Moustakas, and I think he's a great player, they're going to have him play second base. And a lot of he made that transition, obviously, when Travis Shaw was still there at third base, who was just recently non-tendered by the Brewers, so they're probably kicking themselves for that.
Yes.
But the biggest thing with Moustakas is the one thing that concerns me is he's never really been a guy who gets on base. The year they won in 2015, his career high on base was 348, which is respectable, and that was the best season of his career. This year he was an all-star, and, personally, I did the math yesterday when I was getting ready for the show. If you add all of the 8 projected regulars in the Reds lineup, and Joey Votto had an off season, so I think it'll be better, their combined team on base is 323. That's ranked 15th in the majors. That's a mid-level team. But in my opinion, I don't think that's that big of a deal because obviously the NL Central is a division in transition. The Cardinals are probably going to be a playoff team. We know the starting pitching that they have. The Reds have a nice 1-2 starting pitching. Sonny Gray was terrific last year.
Oh, yeah.
Trevor Bauer's there. I think he'll do better than he did.
Starter,
He won't throw any baseballs over the center field wall. Obviously, they have Amir Garrett in their bullpen, who's transitioned to become a great reliever. The Pirates are not going to be a competitive team. And the Cubs, David Ross, I like him. I just don't know what's going to happen. They may trade Chris Bryant, and they have 150 questions with their starting pitching.
Yes.
But I think Moustakas is definitely going to be an upgrade. And the biggest thing, I'll get away from stats for a second, he's a phenomenal clubhouse guy. I think Mike Moustakas is one of the most well-respected players in baseball. And we were just talking about Carlos Beltran with Stuart Hack, who used to work with Scott and Peter at the WEI Network. You want to talk about somebody who possibly has a future in managing. Obviously, he's still got stuff to do on the diamond. Mike Moustakas could be that guy. I think he's a phenomenal clubhouse presence, and I think he's going to be a great addition to that team.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you look at Kansas City when they won the World Series, that team was nothing but maturity and all about class. You had Eric Hosmer, you had Alex Gordon, so many great leaders on that team. And so and Ned Yost, their coach that just retired, it's not surprising, and so it's definitely deserving. He's been seeking a big deal for the past 3 years after having one-year contracts, and so I'm glad to see a guy like this finally get, his payday. So it's well deserving.
Scott?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Milwaukee will ultimately wind up regretting this one. You're going to see the guy 18, 19 times in the division, and he hit a lot of home runs, and that ballpark was conducive, and he's the one who picked up the slack when Christian Yelich went down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And if he didn't go down, I bet they would have won the World Series. Last year or the year before that, he helped them win like 89 games with both their bats with Moustakas and Yelich, and so. It was a crazy year that year for them, and I was like, wow, that team is serious. And, they're a dangerous team, and unfortunately that happened, and, we're here right now talking about Moustakas down at the Reds, so, it's definitely a huge loss.
And you want to talk about offense in Miller Park? Wait till you go to Milwaukee, when you go to a Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, that is a hitter's heaven. Yes. Just ask Adam Dunn.
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's hot there.
Oh, have you been there? Damon, you were at that ballpark?
That's a beautiful ballpark.
Yeah, I was sitting in the sun deck. Obviously it's hot, like I said, and it's a beautiful ballpark. So it's definitely a sight to see. I recommend it if you ever are in Cincinnati. I'd go there.
Yeah, I was at the old Riverfront Stadium myself, the old cookie cutter stadium.
Yeah.
When,
Johnny Cueto was pitching.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, when you saw them.
Johnny Cueto was pitching when I saw them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was there to see the Dodgers and the Reds, and at that time I spent a lot of time with Tom Lasorda, and I were pretty close at the time. It was pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
You want to talk about, though, and this is further deviating from statistics. I know Scott knows that's my foray, and if you read any of my articles, and you can find mine and on many others on the South Florida Tribune's website, Cincinnati does not get enough respect, and you would agree with me, Scott and Damon. It is a phenomenal baseball town. If, as many people don't know, 1869 is when they credit the modern invention of Major League Baseball. The Cincinnati Red Stockings, who went 65-0 that season, were the first professional team in baseball history, the first team where players got paid. So, I mean, Mike Moustakas, somebody who's a natural clubhouse guy, is going to fit in so perfectly with that. Even if he posts, an on-base percentage of like 310, he's going to hit 35 home runs. I know home runs are dime a dozen, but I just think the Cincinnati fans and just, the club, David Bell, the manager there, they're going to love that guy. I think he got a little bit of a financial boost given who he is as a person, but I personally think he's going to fit in with one of the best baseball towns in America.
Well, for many years, though, the Reds used to hold the first game before the year, and then everybody followed suit, but that went away as time went on, and they all started playing at a time. So to go back to what you were saying, Lewis, there's no question that I think that we've got. So,
look, I think it's one of the most amazing baseball towns ever. Like I said, the history with being that the Red Stockings were the first team professionally in baseball history. 1869, obviously the rules were different then, but I think that's so important to the fabric of the sport. I think it's phenomenal personally. You know what, Damon, though? Give me your take on this real quick, though. They have a lot of guys coming off of rough seasons. I mean, Eugenio Suarez is one of them. The guy hit 48 home runs.
Former Tiger.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure a lot of Tiger fans are kicking themselves for that trade. And then they have another former Tiger, Blues free agent now, Jose Iglesias, who's probably going to be a backup at shortstop for them. But Joey Votto's 35 years old. He's coming off a rough season. This is the worst full season of his career. Joey Votto, in my opinion, is a future Hall of Famer. He's the highest.
No doubt about it. I've seen him play. He's amazing.
Highest on base percentage of any active player at 419. But if Votto has a good year, and then you have a guy like Jesse Winker, your center fielder, he's not a good defender, but the guy has shown he has a tenacity to take his walks and get on base. If the Reds get on base at a higher clip, we saw the Astros be very successful because they took their walks. The Reds can be scary in that division. They're one pitcher away, in my opinion, and maybe one or two bullpen pieces from really competing. And I think general manager Dick Williams has done a phenomenal job at revamping that roster.
Yeah, well, like I said, you know what? The Reds are a team that for a while they were down, but, some teams have their cycles about when they're ready to compete based on some of the moves that they gradually make. And this Moustakas move is just one of those moves that as you make them one piece at a time, then all of a sudden the pieces start to fit. There's no rhyme or reason to how you actually go out there and build a team. You just have to hit on your high draft choices, and you got to make sure you don't deplete your farm system that bad. Otherwise you find yourself rebuilding and losing 100 games year in and year out. And I think the spiraling effect is, and I know this will be a constant baseball theme perhaps tonight, is I don't know what direction the Milwaukee Brewers are trending. Are they trying to save all their money for Christian Yelich where the cupboard will be bare by the time they go out there and try to surround players? That's just too difficult to tell.
To add to what you just said about the Milwaukee Brewers, I've been hearing rumors of them trading Josh Hader. And so if they're willing to do that, then that means they're doing something. They have something planned.
Well, the question is, and Stuart Hack alluded to this shortly, do you get rid of the guy at a time where he's burning up innings right now? And again, they're talking about a guy that can pitch two at a time, old school wise, but he throws pretty hard and he's an intimidating presence. And does he go into Corey Knebel mode? Is he the next major surgical
procedure?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I don't want to jinx the guy. Hader's certainly good for the game. I love his old school mentality. I love the fact that he can intimidate everybody.
Well, Hader's different, Damon, because Hader was throughout the minor leagues as a starter, but they brought him in as a reliever, to kind of like a Goose Gossage type, where he can eat up multiple innings.
Yeah,
those are far and few between.
Nowadays, yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll get a massive package for him. Definitely, maybe some draft picks and some good players. So
Yeah, but will those? Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Certainly, they're saying that he won't be traded, but he's on the trading block. They're listening.
yes,
Right now, though, during December, and I've covered the baseball winter meetings numerous times, you never know what can happen in this month now that you have free agency now in gear. And,
exactly.
philosophically. And then you have new general managers in places as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, rumors are the Mets. The Mets are interested. Syndergaard, that would be a person I would look at to acquire. If you were looking at maybe one or two solid pitchers away from competing, like Lewis was saying, that would be the guy to start with.
Yeah, look, I think if Syndergaard hypothetically goes to, say, Milwaukee, I think Craig Counsell, and we saw it this season, obviously Scott Candy's a massive Milwaukee Brewers fan because of where she hails from. Craig Counsell has a knack for maneuvering great performances out of his pitching staff. He did that in the month of September. Their ERA was 2 runs lower than it was throughout the rest of the regular season. So I think when push comes to shove, he's the right guy for that job. And if Syndergaard goes there, can you imagine the rejuvenation he would have? Although he'd be going from a pitcher's park to a very hitter-friendly ballpark in Miller Park.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder about that. Yeah, but it's a good thought. At this point, the Milwaukee Brewers are desperate for pitching, and they got to be conscious of the fact that, the trades that they're making or watching guys leave, is this a good move in the long-term viability of that franchise? They know that they were so close to getting the World Series, and all of a sudden, key pieces are leaving. I mean, think about it. Yasmani Grandal goes
to the White Sox.
So there's another big offensive producer who, by the way, signed, what was it, a 4-year deal?
4 years, $73 million, most for a free agent player in White Sox history.
Right, and then Moustakas gets another 4-year deal worth a lot of coin.
$64 million, as Damon told us, yeah.
Right, so all of a sudden, a lot of these guys that are hitting the ball out of the park are finding themselves with new area codes, and they're making a little bit of dough with it in smaller market towns.
And Damon, I wanted to ask you, we had about 2 minutes left. If the winter meetings start, next week, is there anything particular that you're looking forward to? Maybe a big trade that could go down that would maybe shake up the baseball market? I know we've heard Zach Wheeler may sign before the meetings even start. He's already got a $100 million offer on the table from a mystery team.
I'm looking for Garrett Cole. I'm looking for the big name pitchers to choose where they're going to go. I've been anxious to see where they're going to end up landing. Something like that. Cole. You have Strasburg and Rendon and all them guys. So it's pretty interesting to see what's going to happen and where they're going to end up. So particularly that.
I don't know if you guys saw the Texas Rangers Twitter, but they had a very cryptic post earlier today. It literally just said 24 hours in the Rangers numbers. And I saw one guy comment just one word, Rendon, because he met with the Rangers last week.
Right.
So, I mean, who knows what the Rangers have up their sleeve. Maybe they have a new cornerstone at third base for them.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll show my age. Okay, once upon a time, the Washington Senators moved to the Texas and became the Texas Rangers. If there's any synergy about the Washington-Texas connection outside of the Redskins against the Cowboys, maybe there's a little some here, but don't read into it, especially you. Okay.
I'm fascinated with that, so I'm
all right. I know you're a historical buff. Everybody's talking about the Cincinnati Reds being 65-0 way back before great grandpa was born or whatever the heck it is. I have no idea, but it's okay. It's interesting to have a little bit of baseball history to the mix, which we know Louis Adio Weiss is awfully good at it. And you know what, Damon, don't we love listening to this guy whose energy gets even higher, although he's improving with the other sports. I got to give him his due there. But, boy, you talk about an Indy 500 energy level when it comes to this sport. Mr. Weiss has got it.
When you're talking to somebody about a sport that they're most passionate about, you're going to get that enthusiasm. Like, if you were to talk to me about hockey, I would just, it'd be the same thing, so it'd be like the Daytona 500. So,
Or it's like if you talk Michigan football with Scott, Scott's ears are gonna perk up like a kid when the parents say to come down on Christmas morning. So I mean,
I got news for you. I'm like Damon. Okay, we're Motor City guys. We get passionate about them all, don't we? It's in our blood. Guys like you there in Florida that don't have 1/10 of the history that we have, it's a different story. The Miami Dolphins are your oldest team, and our teams go back to, the 1930s. So
yeah.